Hi there, I'm Monette Satterfield. This is my studio. I'm really glad you're here with me today. I am making tissue paper for collage. It is a way that I like to collage because of the way the paper works. Just a reminder, this video is unedited, so everything you see me do here is going to be filmed live and brought to you, mistakes and all. What I'm doing is I'm making tissue paper, and this is just plain gift tissue that you can get anywhere, really. It's just white tissue paper. And I have two ways of making these collage papers. And I like to use tissue paper to collage into my work because the paper disappears and you're left with just the elements on it and the texture, which I really like. So one thing I do with it that I'm not doing here today, but is I will also gel print on tissue paper, and it makes some amazing patterns. It's one of the ways you can get paint onto tissue paper because it is so fragile that trying to paint with it is somewhat difficult. So what I'm doing today is I'm using this plain white tissue paper, and I've got this white paper up here just so I can see what I'm doing because it all disappears, and that's the point. Is I've got this plain white gift tissue, and first I'm going to make two pieces. The first piece I'm going to work with these Neocolor watercolor crayons because they're soft and they won't tear the paper. It is something you have to keep in mind. Like I said, paint, if you try to paint on it, a lot of times it will get too wet and tear, or any sort of hard edge marker or pencil will also tear it. So the watercolor crayons often work very well because they're soft and they don't tear into the paper. And then when you collage with it, they will often dissolve and smear and solve into it and really make an attractive look if that's what you're looking for. So I just make marks. This is the same kind of mark making that I offer in some of my digital and ephemera products as well. So it's simply free and expressive marks. And I like to vary the scale on the paper because when you go to use this for collage material later, you really don't know what you're going to be doing with it. You just don't know. So I'm sticking with some of the forms that I like quite a bit. I do like spirals, stars, one of my favorites. You'll notice I'm not being particularly careful about what goes where. I'm just marking over other things and just having a blast here, really. Okay, there's enough of that blue. I think that's going to be really strong when it gets collaged down. I think it's going to overpower it a little bit, but that's okay. Here's red. Let's do some red. And it's a good thing just to go ahead and fill the paper all the way up because usually the way I use this is torn into pieces or crumpled up. That's enough. There's a lot of times I'll just go ahead and crumple it up a couple of times and then use it as collage paper because it does actually make a much nicer texture. And so that looks like it's got a lot of life in it. And so that one is ready to be put aside to be collaged on. Now, let's make the second one. It's going to be a little bit different. And again, another piece of plain white gift tissue. Put it up here where I can see what I'm doing. And I've got paint markers this time. And they are, again, because they are soft, they don't tear the paper. Now these are permanent, meaning that once they're acrylic paint markers, once you have marked on the paper and when you do collage it down later with whatever material you do it with, the marks won't move. They will not smear or smudge or in any way wander off the paper like they do with some of the crayons. That may or may not be what you're looking for. You may not like that. Okay. Okay, that's a black. Here's red. Let's just put some red in there just to spark it up and use the big end. Whew. I'm going to use a white marker. And I know it seems counterintuitive to use white on white tissue, but when you collage that over a not white ground underneath it, you get some amazing results. I sometimes will actually gel print white or very light on tissue for the same reason, because it does give you some very interesting effects. Okay, we're running on our marker. Okay. And again, this isn't perfect. It isn't neat. It isn't just so. It's just creating with your heart and your hand connected, basically. These are just symbols that I like. When you do this for yourself, make symbols that you like, symbols that resonate with you. I'm sure there are some. Maybe they're squiggly lines. Maybe they're stars. Maybe you like stars as much as I do. Maybe you like something else. Maybe flowers. Flowers are always fun. Here's a flower. It's a spiral, but it's a flower now. Okay. Okay. And I think that makes an equally nice but very different collage sheet for stronger, more graphic marks. So thank you so much for being here with me today to make these marks in this ephemera. If you want to find out more about what goes on in my studio, please sign up for my newsletter at shinydesigns.com, because I am not on any social medias, and that is the best place to get studio updates. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.